Present.
Good.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Rauschenberger.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
Steffen.
Here.
Thorne.
Here.
Mayor Captain.
Here. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of February 22nd.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Martinez.
Abstain.
Powell.
Yes.
Rauschenberger.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Steffen.
Yes.
Thorne.
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 8-0 with one abstention. We have one item that's on both agendas this evening. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Item A is the 2023 property tax abatement. The city annually prepares property tax abatement ordinances that remove from the annual property tax extension those debt payments relating to the general obligation bonds issued to finance enterprise fund capital improvements, and those typically relate to water and sewer improvements. The city makes payment on those bonds from the utility fees paid by the water and sewer users, so the tax abatement ordinances are enacted to prevent property taxes from being used to service those enterprise debt funds. In other words, no double taxation for the residents or businesses.
Any discussion, any questions for the manager at this time? Hearing none. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The second item is a discussion item. It's an update on the Community Task Force on Policing remaining recommendations. This evening, staff will be providing information on the timeline for presenting the task force recommendations relating to the creation of a civilian review board and an ordinance banning police stops for minor non-moving vehicle infractions. There have been previous discussions with the staff, and the short answer is we are prepared to present a proposed ordinance on the Civilian Review Board, along with a discussion item on an ordinance banning police stops for minor traffic violations at the March 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting.
Questions for the manager? Ms. Powell?
Yes, thank you, City Manager Kozel, for the update. Based on some of the discussions that you and I have had along with Councilwoman Rauschenberger, it sounds like we're going to have a pretty full agenda on the 22nd based on some other things that are on that agenda. And I think the discussions around the Civilian Review Board will be pretty extensive to the point where I'm not sure if it is a good idea to have both of those on the same agenda. So if we can have maybe the Civilian Review Board on the 22nd and then have the last remaining item on the next agenda. And I think there were some other profiling, some of the other racial profiling subcommittee items that kind of go along with that. If I'm correct, that we can bring those forward at that same time as well. I'm open to, listening to some suggestions and feedback from the council, but I believe there were some other very meaty items that are going to be coming forth on the agenda on the 22nd.
What would those meaty items be?
I will defer to the manager to discuss that.
One of the items is the sustainability analyst, Michaela Larson, is working on a proposed single-use bag fee ordinance based on recommendations that the Sustainability Commission made back in October. There's been a rethinking about the scope of the initial phase of that, and the plan is to have an ordinance presenting that information to the council at that date. In addition to that, in the event that the strategic plan is removed from the table and adopted by the city council, the staff would be coming back with the action items that it is recommending in furtherance of that plan for approval by the city council. That would also be taking place on the 22nd. Those are the major, in addition to a discussion on the Civilian Review Board for Policing, are some of the more weighty items that I believe Councilmember Powell is referring to.
Mr. Shaw?
I guess I'm of the prerogative. Let's keep pushing. Personally, time is of the essence, and we need to wrap this thing up. We gotta bring it home. And so I guess I'd prefer that we keep the schedule to be aggressive to finish this up. some of these things, I guess, to me, there's a good boundary of, wanting to finish these up before another council gets in. And we've kind of been around this journey for so long that I would hate to have things, for the next council to be rehashed with a new group. So I guess I'd prefer to keep it on the 22nd if possible, and we've had some long meetings, and we can work through it. We can grab an extra Diet Coke.
Anybody down this way? Ms. Martinez?
I agree too. I think this has been going on, it's almost going on 2 years, and we should just, I hate to say, but having long meetings is nothing new, so this is important, and I think we should just do it all on the 22nd.
Mr. Thorne?
I'm in agreement with the last two. Even the task force spokesperson Denise Haben said, let's get these two last items taken care of as soon as possible. And I'm for that. I want to get this taken care of. I think we should keep it on. We've had long meetings, and we're prepared for long meetings. I don't think that addition's going to make it that much longer. I think we should move forward and keep them both.
One comment from me. I would have a concern. Mr. Shaw's been involved in this since the day one, and he was not running for office. His term will be coming to a close here, and I want to make sure that we get his input in this. Involved for over a year and a half. I think his input's important into the discussion. So I would agree. I think we should try to get these done. Ms. Powell?
Sure. The other component of this is there have been discussions and inquiries from the public about bringing CPE back for another presentation. The last presentation was remote, kind of rushed. We wanted to bring them, there was some interest in bringing them back to go over that information, present some options for moving forward for us to consider. And a lot of that is really kind of tied to that final recommendation around the police stops and the disparities. So that's one of the reasons where, I mean, obviously that can still happen if that's the direction of the majority of the council, which it sounds like it is. I've talked to CPE. They are willing to come back and do that, probably in April. Obviously, at this point, their schedule's been tied up on Wednesdays, so Wednesdays, our schedule does not work for them. So that's another component of this that, again, looking at that last recommendation was, kind of tied around the disparities in the traffic stops and the pedestrian stops. But again, we can still look at that without having that presentation.
Anything else? Mr. Shaw?
Just a suggestion, I think, of the CPE thing. I think there's still I'm not sure there's alignment yet in the council on whether we as a body really want to bring them back or not. I think we're going to need to make a motion and actually see where we lie on that. I mean, I was not, just after their presentation and some of the follow-up conversations that I've had with folks, I'm not sure that I'm wanting to re-engage with them as an organization. If you feel that that's still something that we need, that you're looking to do and feel would be valuable, I think we may need to make that formalized.
I agree. So is there some alignment around, I mean, it sounds like, at least from the folks we've heard from, we're fine with just keeping all of these items on the agenda for the 22nd. It's going to be a pretty long meeting, because just with the sustainability stuff alone, that's pretty meaty, like I said. I just wanted to bring that up so that people were aware and it didn't come as a surprise to anyone.
Any other comments? Ms. Rauschenberg?
I would like to, first of all, bring CPE back. I think they had important information, and that important information needs to be taken seriously and looked at as we talk about these issues. I also say, you know, I understand that some people that have been working on this, you know, rethinking some of the policies in our police department may not be here next year, but there's no reason to hurry. These are very big national, international, important ways of thinking about our future in policing. And, you know, I you know, really am sad. We're going to have a party at that meeting too, because Toby won't be back. So, you know, that's going to be a really full meeting. So my point of view is there's no rush. If you want to do something right, you don't have to rush it through. So that's my perspective.
Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to comment on the CPE discussion point. You know, I've been in the thick of it trying to facilitate discussions about what's the next best step for the organization. I think there's agreement with the task force, members on council, the police department, that there's, like Councilmember Rauschenberger just said, there's national issues at play here. Even in CPE's presentation, they had mentioned many times upstream factors. So in my opinion, and I think the opinion of other people, is that we've made that acknowledgement that there is disparities in policing. The police department has been very active in pursuing programs to address those issues, made evident by the task force and even efforts they were involved in before all of that. So I just want to say right now on the record that regardless of what CPE does or does not do, I think we're moving in the direction, at least me personally, I can say we acknowledge it, we're moving that direction. So then the next question is, what do we want to get out of the relationship going forward? The options that were presented to me is that we could have CPE come back for another presentation, which for those of you that were here for the first one, we know that we weren't too pleased with it, so we kind of asked for a redo. I wasn't involved in the relationship with CPE up until that point, but I was made aware that it wasn't the best working relationship. So I take that into consideration when looking to vote on these matters. And how is it going to be received by the organization if we as a council are trying to push something, organization for them to work with, if there hasn't been a good working relationship. So in talking with CPE, they basically said we can move forward and sign a new memorandum of understanding, memorandum of understanding, and that would allow us to basically fill in the missing years of data. They're not going to look at the data in new ways, they're just going to update that data. So what we saw was the information we were presented was that the department is trending in a direction I think we see as favorable. So then at this point in time, you can assume two outcomes, that it continues to go in that direction or it changes. Worst case scenario is that it changes and we see something bad. So if that were to be the case, in my opinion, we are acknowledging as a body and as a department that we are moving the direction to try and address that as much as we can within the department. So I think, again, I'm kind of long-winded on this one, but it is a complex issue. It's something I've spent a lot of time digging into. We need to continue pushing forward with community policing models. We need to continue having discussions with the community about what kind of society do they want to live in, what do they want their neighborhood to look like, and what role do they want city involved with that, including the police department. I think that what we're looking at today with strategic plan that's going to be up later is it's going to touch on community engagement again. So that's going to be the main component for me, in my opinion, is that we continue to work with the community more so than trying to necessarily slice and dice data, because I think it was what I understood from the task force. They're like, we already know this data is here. Like, yeah, we could take a closer look at it, but we want to see action. So in discussions with CPE, they basically said they can come back, as Councilwoman Powell said, in April. At that point, we can make the decision to have them come back for a presentation to discuss, I think, similar topics that I just brought up right now, or we could just sign an MOU with them. We can bring in the remaining years of data, and that could then bolster what we're looking at in terms of a data set. So I just wanted to give a little overview of what I know about the topic, and then hear if there's any other thoughts from my colleagues.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Steffen.
Yeah, I want to echo some of the comments. I'm going to take this off for a second by Council Member Good. I think it's important that we get the data updated. As I remember, the data only went through 2019, and that leaves 3, maybe 4 years of additional data that we can get updates. I'm looking for those. I want to see what the trends are. I want to see what direction we as a community are going in with our policing. To see if there's, some things that need attention right away, or do we need to keep pushing in the areas that we have been pushing or the police have been reforming to make sure that those trends continue. So that's my thought on CPE's involvement, is to get them back and update the data. And I'm also very interested in, again, as Councilman Good said, looking at upstream causes. What is the source of, why are these things happening? Why are people in the situations they're in? What are the causes upstream that are, causing some of these outcomes to happen, and paying attention to what's the source of those, and identifying solutions for those. So I'm also curious in that way too.
Mr. Dixon.
Thank you. In a perfect world, I would have loved to have the CPE presentation happen before we began to discussing anything further, really. But that's not going to be the case here, because I do believe that we need to get to the items that remain. So although we're going to have a action-packed meeting, it's not something that's foreign to us. And so I look forward to having that conversation as soon as possible. Councilman Shaw, I asked over 2 years ago to be a part of the task force, in which he accepted, and I appreciate. And so I have a duty of sorts to make sure that he is able to see this through before his term ends. So I think that we go ahead and we move forward. And I also just like to remind folks, if you need reminding, that whatever changes we decide to make or not make, the code it can always be changed. So what I'm trying to say is that if we have CPE present in April after we've discussed the items that are going to be coming forward, we could always go back and make changes if necessary, if we see something that's so compelling that we need to make some changes off of it. So it's not like, it's final. So that's my viewpoint on all of this. So I would like to definitely see CPE come forward. I think that was already clear in communications with the city manager. He's already been in communication and working with them on that. I would say that we probably need to go ahead and get a MOU signed so that they can begin doing that work, although we know they're not going to be doing the presentation until April or later. So that would be my suggestion, so that we don't get to April and then what ends up happening is we don't have a presentation until June or July or even further. So.
If I can summarize, I think where we're at is we have two issues. One is the bringing CPE back. It seems like the council would like to see something from staff with a new memorandum of understanding to give us something to take a look at in April, whenever they can get their presentation then would not follow for weeks or months afterwards, because they have to take care of the data and look at the data. The other issue is about finishing up the work of the task force and the remaining issues, and it seems like the majority of the council would like to move forward with an extended meeting on the 22nd. Does that sound correct? Mr. Shaw?
This slight variation. I guess I was, when I said I was not interested in working with CPE going forward, I meant going forward. I meant that I'm not interested in them coming back for any further reports or any further readouts at this point. My concern is it's the same thing, right? We add new data to it, right? So they go up through current data that we have. That's all well and good, but they're not going to do the deep dive or dissect that data any deeper. It's going to be the same formula that they've used so far with the same model. And I think that was where the concern was, is that it's just not deep enough of a model to provide any answers. And so it's going to be the same situation. So I guess that's where I'm saying, like, before we're done here, either someone's going to have to make a motion to bring them here, or I'm going to make a motion to not have them come, and we'll see where we lie, I think.
I guess I looked at the original memorandum of understanding, and it called from CPU to look at 6 to 7 variables in their judgment. And I think that's what I would like to see in this, and if CPU was willing to agree to do that, then I'd be willing, but I'd need to see a memorandum of understanding first, before I would make any decision on it. I want to see some paperwork and my paper bag. Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, my concern is, when CPE was asked to look at this information, it was the information from 2014 to 2018, and it took them so long to look into that. I realized a lot of things were going on at that time. I just find it hard for them to look at new data and look at it within a month, okay? With a memorandum of understanding, is it, what is it going to cost? Because, we've already invested over $500,000 and countless hours of staff time. And while I appreciate the work that, and the recommendations that were brought up, I wonder if we have made any improvements that Chief Lally and her department were not already making, because so much time has gone by, and, this data keeps going on and adding, and, how are we making the difference? I feel that some of my council members seem so caught up in some of the national narratives that we have lost the ability to recognize the accomplishments of our police department have made here far ahead in policing as EPD has, because we recognize that there's an issue nationally, there really is. I'm not saying that Elgin Police Department is perfect, but we don't have those extreme issues that we have at a national, I guess what's happening national. And like the recent accreditation of APD received should be celebrated too. And some of the council members talking about getting Lords Park pool running and continue to direct city fundings towards special interest projects. I think it's just costing us more and more and more. And, this is important. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we have to go on. I think we should make a priority what our, we keep saying our core services are very important, but these things keep happening. The time that it takes staff, we're asking staff again to go ahead and look into this. Like I said, that data was 2014, 2018, so they're saying, okay, let's get new data. And seriously, if they couldn't do it then, they're going to do it now. I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about that. Thank you.
Mr. Good.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify a couple points. Speaking with CPE, they made it known that we could have another meeting with them before signing an MOU, just so that this body's up to date with that. Also, for clarification, it is an expense to the city in terms of staff hours and staff time, but CPE doesn't charge anything for their engagement with the city before and going forward.
Right.
Anything else? Ms. Rauschenberg.
I would like to say I think it was one of the most important things in time we've invested in to make our city fair, equitable, and safe. And I think one of our biggest expenses in this city is the police department, and we take it very seriously. You have to invest to be a good city.
Mr. Stefan.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify or explain further why I'm interested in that data, and it's to see the trends, see if we're heading in the right direction, see which way the needle's moving. That's all. I'm wanting to see if all the efforts that have been made, granted almost entirely by the police department, self-initiated, is having the results that we would like to see. That's why I want to see that data. That's it.
Mr. Dixon.
What I would just say to some of the earlier comments is trust, then verify. I trust that we're headed in the right direction. We're looking for some verification of that. is what this relationship with CPE would mean. Those missing years in the data, I think those are super important to Councilman Steffen's point. Thank you for pointing out that there's no cost in this. And so with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion now for us to re-engage with CPE for the to re-engage for the purposes of an MOU and for the presentation that includes the years that they covered in the previous presentation, plus the requested 2-year period prior to when that data started. So that's my motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Shaw?
Have we received any indication from CPE that they would change their model, or would it be the same metrics and formula that they did last time with the existing data? Do we have any idea? Something you guys
The conversations I've had with them is that it would be around the same metrics that they're using now. I will say that if we're looking to have them look at our most current year's data, I don't know whether they would be able to do that by the time they would come here in April. I mean, we can ask. If we're going to sign another MOU, but I think what they contemplated is coming back, doing, the initial presentation over, having more engagement, more conversation around that, us having the opportunity at that time to determine how we wanted to move forward in terms of, do we want to bring them, sign an MOU to continue that relationship and look at the next set of data and, path forward on how to, again, as I think Councilman Good and a couple of other councilman members said, looking at some of the root causes, the reasons why they narrowed those causes down. I mean, they're experts in this area, and that this is what they found that are more likely the causes for some of these stops and some of the discrepancy. That's why they've narrowed it down to that point, and I think that's some of what they can talk about when they come back. I mean, kind of the same reason why. Well, I'll just forget that, but I don't know whether they would. I doubt very seriously if they would be able to do all of that in April. So I don't know whether you want to amend your motion to. I don't know whether we need to amend the motion so that the motion is to at least bring them back, and then we can have another vote at that time to determine moving forward.
Yeah, you're asking a question. I'm gonna leave I'm gonna leave the motion as is.
Okay.
Because even if we want to do an MOU, we can't enter into one unless they sign it, right? So there has to be an agreement. So this would just be us saying we would like to move forward to get that additional data, that additional information. But in the conversations that we have with them, as long as we're just clear, saying to them, go ahead and represent what you already had, do a full presentation, and if we are going to move forward, this is what the MOU is. Are we in agreement? And then maybe they can come back and, add additional
Do the
info or
second
send
part.
that out. Yeah. But I just want to get the MOU out the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Shaw or Mr. Thorne, isn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not for bringing them back. They're just not a business that I felt comfortable with. I remember, and that a number of people shared that sentiment that night. Their presentation, to me, was very lacking in their professionalism and the respect that they should have given this council, and the fact that they were so limited on their data. I do agree with what the mayor said. If they included more data, that would be one thing, but I'm not going to support bringing them back. I think that once is enough.
Mr. Good?
I just have 2 points. The first one's to clarify, is the motion to bring them back for a presentation and then we'll decide to sign an MOU, or is this motion to both of those right now? Both of those right now, okay.
The motion is for both, to get the MOU, just as an understanding that we as a council, we're going to offer that up to them based on their presentation so that we can just get that out of the way. So it would be for both, but the MOU is not guaranteed because maybe they tell us they don't want to do it. And which.
Or
have
we don't
another-
want to do it.
Or we don't want to do it for some reason if something changes.
Okay. So the second point I want to bring up is in my conversations and trying to sift through what's, this group saying this, they're saying that, bringing everybody in the same room, trying to have these discussions. It's come to my attention that, there was the original agreement in place, organization operated in a certain way at a certain time, and then events that took place throughout the country have now ramped up their business plan. And so that's one of the questions is, why did they shift? I know that was one of the big questions that wanted to be asked and answered, was why did their methodology change? Why was the organization not made aware of it? So that was something that wanted to be brought up. In going through this whole thought process, I've had conversations with staff, I've had conversations with the chief, and I've had conversations with police officers, I've had conversations with people online, and we're talking about statistics here. So I'm more interested in the outcomes, what we're actually going to do to make the impact that we want to see, because there is the probability that if we're looking at engagement between police officers and the public, and we're seeing a trend downward, does that necessarily mean that policing behavior and police changes have done that? Is there also a possibility that people have disengaged from their job? Personally, I've worked in an environment before where people don't want to do their job anymore, and they don't do their job anymore. You can see it with students, you can see it with kids, and I do believe that that has happened to some extent in police departments across the country, where you have a group of workers who feel that they're not happy with work conditions, not happy with how they're being treated by the public, by elected officials, et cetera, and they start to pull back. So in doing that, you're going to see a downward trend in the statistics. So say we get CPE to come back and they fill in these missing years, and we see the trend go in the direction that we want to see it go in, there's still a chance that's not really the result of what we want. That's just a result of a disengaged department. I don't believe that's the case. Obviously, because of the programs that the police department's invested in, that we've all been a part of. So the point I'm trying to make is I'm more interested in what are we doing? And we are doing community policing. We are building on those programs. I mean, that's where I would like to spend more energy, and that was the sentiment that I felt was expressed from the task force when this was brought up, was that we already know the stats, right? And you can believe in those or not believe in those to a certain extent, but we want to see action. And that's what I think the recommendations are part of. So again, that's what I just want to just say. I guess that's me saying, along with me saying that I would like them to come back. I'm not certain. I don't know. I mean, I'm of the mind, let's fill in the missing data, but I'm also of the mind that there's ways that you can slice and dice it and say they didn't do a good enough job. They didn't parse it enough. But ultimately, if they were all of a sudden change their methodology and everything was perfect to everyone, we would still be left at the end of the day saying, what are we doing to make the community safer and improve relationships between police and residents? So I just would like to kind of focus our energy more on outcomes and programs rather than statistics, even though I do want to see that backing, but it's not the end-all be-all.
Okay. Mr. Shaw?
Just my, I guess I go back to just the meshing of how CPE interacted with our staff and the way they presented to us. To me, it just felt like there was just a culture disconnect, and just their stance on how they pursue things and how they partner with organizations, and to me, it just didn't seem like it was a match. And that's a big piece when it comes to working with a third-party vendor, is just that there's that collaboration on working through things, and that's where I think just talking through it in the past and the conversations we had previously, that was a hang-up. And so, if we invite them back to present to us publicly, they are reflecting they are our mouthpiece in a way. And do I want them being my mouthpiece is how I'm interpreting that. Do I want them to be the ones communicating to our public through their lens. And I'm not sure that I quite agreed with the direction that they were headed with that. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm not wanting to have them come back. I think enough, I learned once that, okay, that's how they wanted, that's the direction they want to go and the way they're going to go about it. I'm not sure that that's what I want longer term, and I don't want to have to go through that again.
Mr. Dixon.
I'll make this final point or points before we go to vote, unless anyone has anything else to add. But I would just say to Chief Lally, who, to your point, I think Councilman Good is aware of that possibility nationally when it comes to, maybe officers are just disengaged from their job to a certain degree. And I would think there would be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Lally, some way to say, well, this data did trend down, and it is or it isn't due to officer engagement, because the EPD does keep stats, and they do know their officer, chief knows their officers, and if they are, keeping up with as many stops as they used to, or making as many arrests as they used to, and there are a lot of factors that may help determine that. But I think you can figure out if the officer is doing their job or not, and maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, so there's many variables that are included in looking at data and analyzing data. With the data that was provided to CPE, it was 2014 through 2018, and a little bit of 2019. We also have to remember, when you look at the data, it's no different than our crime stats that we push out every month. So in 2020, because of COVID, we saw a significant increase in certain crimes that we didn't see before or after. You have to remember the stay-at-home orders that were in place in 2020. That's going to affect the number of traffic stops, right? So if that data is included in the analysis, first, my request is that the analysis is deeper than 3 variables, because that was always my concern that I had from the beginning, which is those 3 variables, although they do and are the most prevalent in terms of disparities, there are other variables that do lend to the data. And so looking deeper and understanding deeper. So if that data is included, 2020, there has to be some considerations made for what was happening nationally in terms of stay-at-home orders. So with officers working, productivity, every month officers are doing monthly reports, supervisors are doing reports. The department, depending on what's going on during the month, we may have community engagement events. We may have a situation that taxes a whole patrol shift for hours. It could be a emotionally distressed person. We could have a homicide case. We could have a traffic crash. So everything is looked at. It's not just the number, because that number that the officer produces at the end of the month, they may have spent numerous hours being an evidence technician. They may have been working as part of our emergency, response team. They may have, there's all these other things that we'll look at in terms to say if an officer is being productive. So the answer to your question is yes, we can make those determinations, but we also don't make, we're taking a deeper dive. We're making sure that we're asking the questions of, why were you doing this month? What else do we need to be looking at? What was going on in the community? Are we having a crime trend where we pushed all our resources towards a certain thing because the community need was there? So those conversations do take place.
Yeah, and just so that I'm clear, I was thinking more from a macro level, and not singling out individual officers and at an overall analysis.
Correct.
So I just wanted to make that point that we have our own data in-house, separate from CPE, and we can use that in trying to determine I'm not going to say the legitimacy, but how it directly relates to what we have going on that we know is factual based on what we have, our numbers. So, okay, that's all. That's the only point I wanted to make. So,
Okay.
thank you, Chief.
Anything else? Or we have a vote? We have a motion?
Yep.
Read the motion, please. Yep.
The motion I have is to re-engage with CPE for the purposes of a new MOU presentation with the data from the years before, with the additional 2-year set.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
No.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
No.
Mayor Captain.
No, the motion passes 5-4. Okay, and we have agreed that we will have an extended meeting on in March. Okay, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item B is, item C. Construction Engineering Services Agreement Amendment Number 3 with Baxter and Woodman for the Summit Street and Dundee Avenue Intersection Improvements Project. This agreement is authorizing the city's engineering consultant to oversee the construction of the Summit and Dundee Avenue Intersection Improvement Project by providing field inspections, design interpretation, contract administration, project coordination to ensure the timely and proper construction completion of the work. The project will be reconstructing the intersection of Summit Street and Dundee Avenue to improve traffic flow and increase driver safety. An attendant item with the bid for this project is the first item of business on the regular agenda. And Public Works Director, City Engineer Mike Pubens is here to remind the council and the public of what's going to be going on at that Dundee Summit intersection, knowing that this work originally goes back to 1999.
Thank you, Manager
Go
Kozel.
right to it.
So as Manager Kozel said, this item is the construction engineering agreement. So we'd be hiring Baxter and Woodman to be on site to do project management, material inspection and certification, those types of things, documentation, et cetera. The construction award will be on the council agenda. And as Manager Kozel said, I just wanted to give a quick review of what the project is. It's been a little while since we talked about it. So you may remember these high-quality graphics from a previous presentation. So what you'll see here is an aerial view of the Dundee Summit intersection. North is generally to the top of the screen, so Dundee Avenue runs at an angle, southwest-northeast, and then Summit runs east-west. The red lines indicate the existing curb lines, and the yellow lines are the lane divides. So generally, we have mostly dedicated through lanes, but not too many dedicated turn lanes. We do have a left dedicated turn lane from Dundee to southbound, from Summit to Dundee, and a right turn lane. And there's the left turn lane off the side road, as you can see. As we talked about previously, this is a relatively unsafe intersection. Lots of turning movements that conflict with one another. Signal timing is poor. There's a long wait time. And aside from just the general physical condition of the pavement. And you may remember this is the only road in town where you have to make a right and a left to go straight. So there you go. So the proposed intersection, and again, the reason for what we're planning to do, lane widening and additions, we want to provide dedicated turn lanes. We want to improve the signal timing, and we want to improve the Summit Street alignment. We can't get it perfectly straight, but so the blue lines now represent the new curb lines, and the orange represents the new medians, basically. So you'll remember we talked about going northbound, we'll have 2 through lanes and a dedicated left and a dedicated right onto Summit, which will allow those turns. On westbound Summit, we'll have 2 dedicated left turn lanes onto Dundee. Right now there's 1. This image shows a shared through lane and right turn lane. I'll give you a little update on that in just a moment. You can see the turning movements that will be allowed with that. We'll have 2 through lanes going north, 2 through lanes going south, and a dedicated left turn lane. That replicates what's there now. You see we've been able to straighten out that alignment somewhat. Again, it's not perfect, but eliminates the heavier movements that had to be made. And then we'll have a shared right turn lane and through lane on eastbound Summit, and then a dedicated left onto northbound Dundee. So these will be the lane configurations once the project is done. So this is what we started with a year or so ago when I presented this to you, and it's led to this. These are from our construction plans that have gone out to bid. So this is the entire portion of Dundee. So north is to the top of the screen somewhat. It's a little bit challenging to see, I apologize. And this is Summit. So let me go back one. So you can follow the curve, oops. So we'll have 2 through lanes going northbound on Dundee. We'll have a dedicated right turn lane. You can see here on Summit, the 2 dedicated lefts and then a dedicated through lane. With the addition of some right-of-way purchases that we bought over there, there were some homes that the city purchased and has since raised. It's given us enough space to construct a dedicated right turn lane. So this is Summit Street going east-west, and you can see on my cursor here. There we go. So you can see we've got a dedicated right turn lane to make a right turn onto northbound Dundee. So the project has been bid. Hopefully we'll award it tonight to Plody Construction. We hope to start late April, early May. The project will probably take a little over a year in total. A big portion of that is delivery times on traffic signal equipment. So our estimate at this time is that we'll get most of the pavement work done. We'll have all the curbs in. We'll have the binder course, which is that first layer of asphalt. We aren't sure if we're going to get the surface course on there this year. And then the final signal work will happen next year along with cleanup and restoration. So again, just wanted to give an overview, a reminder of what we're doing out there. It's going to be a bit of a challenge getting through. We will have some lane closures for staging. We'll be reaching out to the businesses in that area here shortly. We've talked to them many times just in regards to what we're doing. We had to talk to some about land acquisition. So we've got some contacts, but we'll be meeting with those businesses just so they're aware. We'll give them some contact names and numbers to call as construction occurs in case most likely we'll have them be the first point of contact will be the resident engineer who's on site most every day and can address problems quickly. So with that, I take any questions.
Any questions for Mike? Mr. Good?
He meant me. He meant me. You say good, you meant Dixon, though. Okay, all right. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Mr.
Okay.
Dixon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Weiss. Question for you, and excuse my ignorance in this question, but is there a threshold that determines if those turning lanes should or should not have their own separate turning lane? And the reason why I'm asking that is because in the rendering in your technologically advanced presentation here, they're shared lanes for the turning for at least 2 of the terms that I saw. But I'm asking because this is one of our major intersections on the east side of town. It's also a corridor road for us too on both ends. And then on Summit, of course, it's a high traffic going both east and west. So can you teach me essentially, what if any threshold needs to exist in order for you to determine if those lanes should have their own turning lane as opposed to shared?
Sure. There are. In general, we'll look at average daily traffic and peak hourly traffic rates. And there are, as you can imagine, engineers like tables and charts. And so there are thresholds that say from this point to this point, 1 single lane will generally suffice. Above that, 2 single lanes may suffice. Above that, 2 lanes and a shared turn lane. And there's some overlap and some engineering judgment that is involved. But typically, we start with traffic counts. And so you'll see you talked about there are some shared lanes. So eastbound Summit is going to be a shared through lane and right turn lane. The reason we're doing a shared lane there is that the traffic on the west side of Dundee, on Summit, west of Dundee, is much lower than on the east side of Dundee. A lot of the traffic is coming in from the east coming in from the east or going to the east and making that movement from Dundee to Summit, which is why we have the dual turn lanes. It might take me a while to get back there, but that's why we have the dual turn lanes on westbound Summit to Dundee, because we know that there are many more traffic turning movements, many more cars that want to make that left turn going west than there are want to make a right turn going east.
Okay.
Likewise, coming from the south, there's actually a dedicated left turn lane But again, based on
Traffic.
usage, on traffic, one single lane will suffice most of the time.
Most of the
We
time.
typically don't build roads to have an A level of service all the time. It'd be very expensive. You'd have a lot of lanes that never got used or wouldn't get used for most of the day. So there may be some minor congestion at peak times. And again, with this project, we're trying to fit it into a somewhat defined space, which is always a little challenging. But,
Okay, so mostly just based on traffic.
Yes.
Usage, and is there ever a situation where there's some other determining factors that may override that?
there can be. We look at pedestrian traffic, if there are pedestrian generators in the area. So schools may sometime, schools are considered a high pedestrian generator, and the type of pedestrian as well as the type of driver, right? People coming out of City Hall are maybe better, more aware pedestrians than school kids coming out of a grade school. So those can be taken into consideration. And I'd say that engineering has both standards and guidelines. So there is a fair amount of engineering judgment involved in these because each situation is a little bit different.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you, that's all.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Powell, you had your hand up.
Yes. Thank you, Mike, for the presentation. Can you give us because this project is specifically on the intersection improvements. There are additional improvements that will be taking place on Dundee Avenue north of this intersection, correct?
Yes, those are currently being worked on. Give me one moment. So again, this is Dundee. South is on the left side, north is on the right. So it starts down, it is at, pardon me, I forgot the streets. Seneca generally is just south of that and goes up to Enterprise. So those are the south and north limits of this project. We have a project that is currently in what we call phase 2 design, so final design, that right now is scheduled to be constructed next year. Well, at the very least to be put out for letting and awarded next year. That could happen later in the year, which may make us decide we're going to do a little bit of the work next year or we're going to push it all till 2025. But yes, but to answer that question, there'll be a project that starts at the north limits and goes all the way up to Page.
Okay. And this will be finished by the time we start that next project?
That's the plan. It should be. There could be some overlap if this project goes into 25.
Okay.
And things really came together with the Dundee North project. As I've said before, we really try to avoid having, this is challenging for drivers. We've all been through construction zones and lane changes and closures, and
Absolutely.
so
No, appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. Anything else for Mike? Ms. Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pubens, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate how through the traffic flow that there's 2 lanes, the dual lane that's going left, because believe it or not, right now that's even happening. And it's always been very scary for me because all it takes is for the inner lane to not make that immediate turn. We see it all the time on Chicago Street and 31. And it would be very terrible if something like that were to happen. I'm glad that this is being done. I know we're at the mercy of the weather as well, if we all of a sudden get a monsoon season or something. But I'm glad that this is being done. Anytime I mention this, for people who don't know, they always keep referring to that roundabout. So anytime I mention this, I always say, and not the roundabout, So thank you very much for doing this. I know it's been challenging to get those right-of-ways, and thanks a lot for what you do.
You're very welcome. I'd just like to thank Mr. Cogley and his staff were extremely helpful in obtaining the right-of-way for us, working with our consultant, preparing documents, contacting residents, so thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Mike? Okay, we have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll. We need a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's moved and second for approval. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll reconvene the committee of the whole after the regular council meeting.
So moved?
Second.
Moving second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are adjourned. We'll reconvene, and let's say at 7:05. City Council for March 8th, 2023 to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Here.
Martinez,
Here.
Powell,
Here.
Rauschenberger,
Here.
Shaw,
Here.
Stefan. Here. Thorne,
Here.
Mayor Captain.
Here. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of February 22nd, 2023.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, clerk please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Abstain.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan. Yes. Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 8-0 with one abstention. We have one communication this evening from the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program.
We on here? Okay. My name is Steve Cass Stevens. I am a past president of the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. I am currently the parliamentarian of the Illinois Chiefs Association, recently retired after 46 years in law enforcement, and most importantly, for the last 20 years, a resident of the city of Elgin. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Board of Officers of the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. Nearly a decade ago, the Illinois Chiefs Association sought a way to help local police departments demonstrate that they achieve the highest standards while embracing nationally recognized best practices in law enforcement. This led us to create ILEAP, the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. We partner with several major organizations in Illinois, including the City County Management Association, the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, and the Northwestern University Center for Public Safety. This is the accreditation authority for the state of Illinois. Today I'm here to congratulate the Elgin Police Department for achieving accreditation. It's important for us as a statewide association to publicly recognize departments that are striving to reach these high goals. Those departments that are open to change, embrace best practices and transparency, while opening their doors to public and professional scrutiny in their drive for continuous improvement. This accreditation is significant for your police department and your community. Elgin Police Department has achieved Tier 1 accreditation, which means they meet or exceed 69 important standards and best practices. Our team reviews policies and procedures in the context of these standards. We look at 4 main areas, which include administration, training, operations, and personnel. We employ professional assessors to review critical policies, which include use of force, police pursuits, criminal investigation, community policing, and record keeping. To achieve accreditation in this is a rigorous process, typically taking an average of a year or more for a department to demonstrate its compliance with these Tier 1 standards. Our congratulations to Chief Lally, the EPD accreditation team, and the entire police department on this accomplishment. It should be noted that only 54 law enforcement agencies in Illinois have received this accreditation since the program was launched over 10 years ago. That represents 5% of the law enforcement agencies in this state. The Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police are very proud of the chief and the Elgin Police Department for this accomplishment, and we believe you should as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for being here tonight and presenting the award to the Elgin Police Department. I just want to keep it very short and brief. The members of the police department are beyond exceptional. I love that police department. I love the people in that department. We have our good days, we have our bad days, but the commitment of myself and the command staff and every single person in that building to make the city of Elgin and the community members feel safe, feel welcomed, feel secure, and also our commitment to show them that we're always doing better, being better, changing, thinking, innovating. So I want to thank the members of the police department. Special thank you to Deputy Chief Schuessler, my administrative professional Katie Johnson, and also Sergeant Mike Martino, who were part of the accreditation team and made the on-site assessment seamless. So very, very proud of the work that the members do each day, and this award is just a show of how great they are. So thank you, and thank you again. Thank you.
This brings us to the portion where we recognize persons present that signed up. We have 3 people that signed up this evening. The first one is Mike Warren.
See, I got the clock, so I'll do as best as I can to get 3 minutes in. But it's really fitting that we saw the Elgin Police Department get an award. I didn't know that was happening. My goal for tonight is to recognize the Elgin Police Department, but I know that the leadership comes from the City Council. So my thanks is to you for supporting the staff that we have that deliver great services to residents and business owners like myself. We had a young man walk down the street and decide he wanted to throw a rock at our very cool, very expensive LED sign and broke it. And we caught that on video, and we called the police department, and they came out and took that video, and you know, nothing really happened until Detective Joniak called about 2 months later and said, "Hey, we caught the guy." And I'm like, "Wow, this is really awesome. How did you do that?" And he told me a great story about how they do police work, and now this young man gets an opportunity to be held accountable for his actions. And I'm glad that I'm not a frequent flyer of the police department, but I'm grateful that they're there 24/7 to keep us safe, and you know, their track record speaks for themselves. So thank you to the Elgin Police Department. Thank you to the Elgin City Council for supporting the police department and giving them the tools they need to be effective. I have one more story, because many of you maybe know that my wife and I own a couple car washes on the west side of town, and one of them was affected by an unexpected fire, and it closed our business, which, as any small business owner would know, is a terrifying situation. Our goal was to get back open and running as fast as possible, and we had some insurance hurdles to get through before that could happen. But as soon as we were able to get into the building, the city staff really rose to the occasion to help us reach our goal of getting back open. We were able to access the building on a Friday morning. I talked to Director Malat. He was able to arrange Matt Falco and the electrical inspector, Steve, to come out in the morning and tell us what we needed to do to get operational. I had an electrical contractor, MKD, a local company here, on site. We completed the tasks. They completed their paperwork. They came back and made the inspection, and we were back open that same day. So it's because of your leadership and vision for our community that we're able to deliver that type of service to get a small business owner back up and running and serving our community. So I want to thank you. I wanted to thank Director Malat, and Dave Waden also chimed in and helped us with some paperwork, Matt Falco, that entire team. I'm just grateful to live in a town where services are available to help us serve our customers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Was that 3 minutes, 10 seconds?
Jeff Wengert. Okay, no problem. Bill Wurst.
Good evening, Councilman and members. Bill Willis from 2245 South Street. I think we're in the political season. As some of you know, we have candidate forms popping up all over the place. And I passed out a brochure to each of you about the candidate forum that's taking place next Tuesday evening at Journey of Hope Church at Highland and Randall Road. This is both for the council members and new people running for council and the mayor candidates. So just want to welcome you to that. It's going to be an exciting evening between the church helping to sponsor it and also with WRMN. We're going to be live on Facebook and being streamed on WRMN. So we'll get wide coverage for the candidate forum. So we welcome everyone and the community as well. Thank you very much. See you there.
Thank you. Okay, brings us to bids. First item is bid number 23-004, Summit Street and Dundee intersection improvements.
Mayor, I make the motion to award the bid to Plody Construction in the amount of $4,732,544.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 2 is bid number 23-016, new boiler room at the center.
Mayor, I make the motion to approve a contract with EP Doyle and Son LLC in the amount of $1,490,953.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 3 is a Suburban Purchasing Cooperative contract with Shaw Integrated Solutions for replacement of carpeting and tile in various locations.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we award the contract to Shaw Integrated Solutions in the amount of $280,825.
Second.
Been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. Item 4 is a job order contract with FH Passion for the police facility second floor remodeling.
Move to award the contract with FH Passion in the amount of $81,114.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 5 is a job order contract with FH Passion for police facility communications break room remodeling.
Mr. Mayor, I request we award the contract to FH Passion in the amount of $54,986.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Brings us to other business. The first item is consideration of petitions 47-22 and 48-22, 418 Airport Road. An amendment to the plan development and conditional use to establish a commercial operations yard for outdoor storage for a wholesale distribution of residential storage products and recreational equipment. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located within the River Ridge Business Center, located along the east side of Airport Road. This is Airport Road, State Street, Route 31 is here, I-90 tollway here. The St. Sophia Greek Orthodox Church is on the left of your screen. The Pride of Elgin here, which I'm happy to say their diesel fueling station is under construction. Alexander's Cafe, Holiday Inn, and Hampton Inn are there. Backyard Storage Solution requests approval of an outdoor storage yard for their proposed 15,000 square foot warehouse and distribution facility at 418 Airport Road, Units B and C. Backyard Storage specializes in manufacturing and distributing residential sheds, gazebos, pavilions, and playground sets. A warehouse and distribution facility is a permitted use here, but outdoor storage is not. The storage yard will be located behind the building and screened with an 8-foot-high solid privacy composite fence. Required landscaping would be installed along the east property line to enhance an existing landscaping buffer. Backyard Storage needs the outdoor location to stage building materials for their products for next day pickups. Contractors pick up the materials to assemble the product at residents' homes. No products or materials will be stored outside the fence. No assembly of product will take place within the yard, and the applicant is not proposing any other change to the site or exterior of the building. Backyard Storage is relocating from Glendale Heights to Elgin to expand its operations. The company provides residential backyard products for retailers such as Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, and Costco, and is contractually obligated to deliver their product within 60 days. Applicant is present. Should you have any questions, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to the conditions outlined within your packet.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Steffen,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion is approved 9-0. Item 2 is consideration of petition 01-23, 357 Division Street, conditional use for a planned development to establish the offices of a nonprofit social service agency at Holy Trinity Church. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located at the southeast corner of Division Street and Chapel Street. I'm terribly sorry about that. Division is here. This is Chapel. This is Congregation Neseth Israel. The O'Connor Leets Funeral Home is here. U46 headquarters here, and this is the Parish Center for St. Joseph's Catholic Church. The Chinese Mutual Aid Association requests a conditional use to move their local office to the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church at 357 Division Street. CMAA was located on the third floor of the professional building. CMAA would occupy the 3,000 square foot third floor of the church's administration building. CMAA is an Asian American and Pacific Islanders-led social service agency promoting the interest and enhancing the well-being of immigrant and refugee communities from around the world. CMMA provides in-home services for the elderly and or disabled, English as a second language and adult basic education classes, and various other social services. The application also includes relief to the parking requirements. The zoning ordinance requires 76 parking spaces for the church and 12 spaces for CMAA, but the property only has 65 spaces. That being said, CMAA would operate off-peak from the church and not negatively affect their parking. CMAA would be open from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, with some special events on Saturdays and Sundays. The church averages 40 attendees during Sunday service, many of whom carpool, and CMAA would not hold special events when Holy Trinity was holding services or when Holy Trinity was holding special events of their own. CMAA would not make any changes to the building or the site. Any future signage will meet the zoning ordinance requirements. The applicant is here. Should you have any questions, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions outlined within your packet.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Steffen,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Congratulations. Item 3 is a public hearing of petitions 36-22, 37-22, and 38-22, 36 West 987 Hops Road, annexation agreement, annexation, preliminary plat of subdivision, and plan development as a map amendment for the construction of a residential and commercial mixed-use development with a 280-unit multifamily apartment development, Seasons at Elgin, and a 3.1-acre commercial outlet. Declare the public hearing open. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located at the southwest corner of Randall and Hops Roads. Hops is here. This is Randall Road. This is Bowes Road. And this is the Canadian National Railroad. Elgin Fire Station number 7 is here. This is the Edgewater subdivision, the Meyer and Menards Shopping Center, the Walmart Sam's Club Shopping Center, Reserve Subdivision, Creekside Subdivision, and Otter Creek Elementary School. City Council reviewed the annexation and zoning for the Avalon Trails townhouses right here in October. Fiduciary Real Estate Development proposes building The Seasons at Elgin, a 280-unit market-rate multifamily development that they describe as best-in-class and amenity-rich. The Seasons at Elgin would consist of 14 two-story buildings that are architecturally well-composed. The buildings feature a substantial amount of masonry, and the massing is divided by well-placed fenestration, private balconies, and gables. Each building contains 20 units. 10% of the units would be studios, 40% one-bedroom, 40% two-bedroom, and 10% three-bedroom. Sizes would range from 700 to 1,500 square feet, and each unit would have a private entrance, 9-foot ceilings, and in-unit washer and dryer. Buildings are oriented such that their fronts face Bose and Randall as much as possible, and low berm and extra landscaping are provided along Randall. Total off-street parking is provided at a rate of more than 2 spaces per unit, and some units would include attached garage parking. Resident amenities would include a dog park, clubhouse, pool, and 24-hour fitness center, grill station, and a single-station car wash. A comprehensive internal sidewalk system would connect to a nearly mile-long multi-purpose path that encircles the development, including 10-foot wide multi-purpose paths along Randall and Hops that can eventually connect to the regional trail work being conducted by the King County Department of Transportation. A 3-acre lot would be reserved for future commercial development at the corner of Randall and Hops. The developer would dedicate 50 feet of right-of-way along Hops and reconstruct and widen the road to include a center turn lane and curb and gutter profile that matches the profile in front of Otter Creek Elementary School to the west. The westernmost driveway would align with the collector street within the previously approved Avalon Trails Townhouse development on the north side of Bose. A traffic study concluded that with the proposed improvements, area roadways can adequately accommodate the proposed traffic from the proposed development. The site plan was also designed to accommodate the Randall and Hops intersection realignment and widening currently being engineered by KDOT. The developer would dedicate 70 feet of right-of-way along Randall Road for that project. Randall will include 3 through lanes and the capacity for 2 left turn lanes in the northbound and southbound directions, matching the intersections of Randall and Bose Road to the north and Randall and McDonald/Stearns to the south. The applicant is present. Should you have any questions, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions outlined within the packet.
Any questions for Mr. Malat or the applicant from the council at this time? Ms. Rauschenberger.
Thank you. You mentioned, I know Otter Creek School is down the road. Did you mention that there would be sidewalk to the school?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the distance? Is it like a
They're
quarter?
right next to each other.
Right next to each other. Okay, great, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Any questions or comments from people in the audience? Mr. Dixon.
Excuse me. Thank you. To piggyback off of Councilwoman Rauschenberger's question, get a little bit more clarification. Is there going to be sidewalks on both sides?
Both sides of Hops?
Yeah.
This developer is responsible for providing sidewalks on its side of Hops. We're working with the developer of the Avalon Trails on the north side. They'll provide sidewalks on their side. But as to this developer providing both.
And I'm asking that because the school is on the other side of the street.
Otter Creek is on this side of it.
No, it's on
It's
the
on the
Oh,
same
it's on this
side.
side,
Yes.
side of the street. Okay,
Let me see if
I
it,
had
here
it flipped
we go.
around
This is a
then.
good shot of it. Let's see. So you can see the subject property outlined in red. Immediately to the left, that's that oblong circle with the white dot in the middle. That's Otter Creek Elementary.
Okay. Okay, I'll take that question back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Malat. I have some friends that live a little further down on Hops that are very concerned about it for traffic. But after seeing your proposal and the changes that will be made in the widening and the additional lanes, I feel confident that I'll be able to tell them that it's progress, it's growth, it's moving forward, it'll help the city, and the traffic will be addressed. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, sir.
Anyone in the audience wish to address the petition? Well, one last call. Anyone in the audience? Seeing nobody at the podium, declare the public hearing closed. Brings us to item 4 is consideration of petitions 36-22, 37-22, and 38-22 at 36 West 987 Hops Road, annexation agreement, annexation, preliminary plat of subdivision and plan development as a map amendment for the construction of a residential and commercial mixed-use development with a 280-unit multifamily apartment development, Seasons at Elgin, and a 3.1-acre commercial outlot.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and second for approval, subject to conditions. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger. Yes. Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. That brings us to our order of business for bonds and obligation bonds. And I'd entertain a motion at this time to aggregate items 5 through 14 as one vote.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and second to aggregate items 5 through 14 as one vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger. Yes. Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, that motion is approved, 9-0. Now we need a motion to approve all 9 items.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion is approved 9-0. Brings us to item 15 is a resolution adopting the 2023 strategic plan. This item must be removed from the table.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second removed from the table. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Rauschenberger. Yes. Shaw,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the item is removed from the table.
I guess I'll start since I'm the one that moved this. I think we need to continue the conversation on this strategic plan and move it, hopefully to an adoption. I noticed the resolution that is before us talks about having this serve as a framework for setting strategic principles and priorities. I think we need to do that since our current strategic plan expired. But I also think that, as I've had conversations with several council members and city manager, that we need to do a little bit more work on this. I think the fact that it, in my mind, remains unfinished is borne out by some of the reactions to the plan that we've gotten from the community. People seeing things that are in the lists of items that may be considered and acting on those as if they are city policy or city, there's been a decision to move forward with them, which particularly on the one that has certainly raised the most concern isn't one that I'm moving forward on, but there it is. So they're there as options, they're there as something that may be considered. So I think that we need to move forward and bring a consultant back and kind of fine-tune those lists and get those refined, because right now they're just kind of, I don't know what you would call them, maybe wish lists or aspirations that certain people on the council have put forward but have not had a conversation and kind of a discernment. So that's my modus behind bringing this forward, and I'm opening it up to everybody else. So.
Anything else? Ms. Rauschenberger?
I agree that it would be good for us to adopt it as a framework. And I think we started the process in a good way, but there's certainly a lot more work to do in making this a strategic plan for 1, 3, 5, 10 years. And though I know it's a living document, I think we need to have a little bit more thought behind the list that was sort of just thrown together. I feel that we had too short a time to talk probably about the most important part of the strategic plan. So I would like to also continue discussions.
Anything else? Ms. Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm kind of surprised to hear these comments because we spent a lot of time talking about this, and wasn't something that we just threw together. We spent hours 2 times, and this is what we came up with. I mean, sure, let's kind of discuss some more about it. We'll go ahead, but as you mentioned, it's a living document. And, you know, again, we'll just bring it out again and see what happens.
Anything else? Mr. Thorne?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm one to the last thing I want you to think is that I ever want to rush things. I'm not rushing, but I also don't want things to just keep lingering. Granted, there are some gray areas, but those are areas that then we address one-on-one when a specific item comes up. I think the plan is a good plan, and we did spend a lot of time on it, and we spent a lot of time with this group. I think that if we bring in a new council member or members and to make some of the decisions, that's going to play havoc with a learning curve that might not be fair. I'm for adopting it as is and addressing specific areas that come up when we look at those that are not designated. Granted, I've heard some comments from the community that they were concerned about certain things that they thought were automatically going to take place by the wording, but I referenced the fact that it said may include. That means it has to be brought up and talked about and voted on, a specific item. I would support keeping it as is and addressing it and adopting it. Thank you.
Mr. Good?
Thank you, Mayor. As some of my colleagues have laid out a little bit already, is the process that we went through to get here. We had a consultant, we did multiple offsites, and yes, as it's been highlighted, of course, we could spend more time talking on these projects, but to my understanding, with the adoption of this, it then moves forward to staff to recommend action items where we would then discuss it in more detail. So in that capacity, I am in support of passing this as is. Also, there are other areas of our operations that are tied to this plan and our framework. For example, we have a new process for evaluating the city manager. As part of that process, we want to clearly define goals, projects, how we're going to measure that. And so delaying this further in an official capacity would also hinder that process as well. So obviously, this is a living document. As Councilmember Thorne pointed out, this may include it. I will say, though, that some of the wording I could see as being alarming. I did receive emails recently concerning the historic district, and my response to some of those emails was saying that I hear you, I'm not one way or the other on it, but what I am in favor of is revisiting the way that we do community engagement, and that's also from the city's perspective, but also from a neighborhood association perspective. So I would like to have a conversation how those two organizations work together, how we get to a place where we said this is what the community has agreed to. So it doesn't just touch on that one topic. That would be a strategic shift that would impact a lot of these different areas. So I just wanted to throw that out there in response to some of the emails, but I'm in favor of moving forward with this tonight.
Ms. Powell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I guess this question is for Councilman Stefan. Could you give a little bit more details about how you propose moving this forward? Do you propose adopting this as a draft and then bringing Raftellus back to develop it further? I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding the next steps in the process that you're proposing.
what I envision is to approve it as the framework, as the resolution says, which I suspect is like, a working draft that we work from. But I also see that we need to refine these lists in my mind. That's where I'm coming from. I don't know if that means Raftellus comes back. I don't know if that means we're going to get that accomplished through the consultant we have helping us with our review process, because that's part of the new format we have, is that we are supposed to be kind of making annual plans with a set of goals that we're going to use to measure our effectiveness. So that's what I see is that we have to work more on that, whether it's Raftellus or the consultant we have through the manager review process or somebody. I see that we need more work on this.
That we would be adding to it,
Well,
or tweaking it in some form.
I don't envision adding more to it. I envision kind of tweaking it and maybe expanding on certain items that, are going to be included in an annual and a triannual goal plan. That's the way I see it.
It's my understanding with my conversations with the manager that Raftellus is willing to come back and help us work through some of this, to Mr. Steffen's point, clean up some of the things that people may feel uncomfortable with. But the bones would stay the same, such as diversified growth. Those types of headers would stay the same, and the portions where we talk may require more discussion. Let's put it that way. Is that correct? Is that correct, Mr. Steffen?
I believe that's one of the options is Raftellus, yes. I haven't been updated, so I haven't heard.
Mr. Manning?
Don't have a definitive agreement, but they said that they would entertain. I think part of the discussions they would have in coming back is making sure that there's clear direction of what the city council expectations are with the continuation of another work session. So it's just want to have a greater talk, see what the council's looking for. That's the best that I can provide at this time, but there's a willingness to do that.
Okay. Ms. Powell?
Yes, so with that understanding, I'm supportive of what Councilman Steffen has proposed. At the last time we looked at this, and it was before it was tabled, one of the concerns I had, because we did cover this, yes, but probably as Councilman Good, who was part of the strategic plan committee 5 years ago when we put this together, that group met for probably well over a year, I believe, wasn't it? It was a pretty long process. So I think it's not unreasonable to think that there's still more work to be done after the couple of sessions that we had with the consultant. My concern was that in the value statements that were listed, there was no inclusion of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, which I think is core to what we've been talking about and focusing on in our community. And obviously, we have a consultant that's working with us on those issues right now, and I think that needs to be reflected as a value in our strategic plan, so that when we move forward with different initiatives, we can point back to that as a reason why we are moving forward with those particular initiatives. So that's one of the changes I definitely would like to see, and it appears that would be an opportunity for us to tweak that area along with several others based on what Councilman Steffen is recommending. So I do support that. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Mr. Shaw.
I guess I'm of the opinion of moving it forward as is. I think a lot of the discussion and feedback we've received from the community is really in the area of the strategic outcome areas and initiatives. To be honest with you, that was a brainstorming effort that really just collected a lot of the ideas from council members and staff and went through kind of a sort of a ranking process of which ones, are of highest priority. that section of the strategic plan is something that would need to really be looked at, on an annual basis as initiatives come and go. That piece of the strategic plan is really actually a very short-lived component. So I guess that's why I'm by the time we keep talking and talking about it, you're gonna have another year go by without a strategic plan. And, I think there's value in actually moving forward with what you have, the bones of it, and as anything else, it'll continue to ebb and flow. But I think it covers on all those major highlights. And I even think the vision statement captures some of what Councilwoman Powell talked about as well, that I think it hits on some of those areas. And so I would make a motion to approve the strategic plan for 2023 as is and move forward into the next phase, which is really implementation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Ms. Rushenberger.
Toby, I'm just surprised. When I look at other strategic plans from other communities, they have looked at community needs of each of these projects. You look at community needs, community impact, scope in terms of times and money, return on investment, long-term benefits, and most importantly, performance measures. Those all go into how you rate and rank, what's interesting, and what puts your community forward based on our objectives, where we're calling them our strategic outcome areas and initiatives. I just don't think a laundry list is a way to be strategic in our community. I think we need just time for discussion on each of these, and with some criteria where we rate and rank their importance and return on investment for each of our community members. Not only monies, but return on investment for community. So I think there's one step missing, and that is I think we did a great job in getting our outcomes and areas, and we all agreed on those. And we can talk more about diversity, I think, within or separately, but I think you need to look at all of these things and say, what is, first of all, and look at our, the strengths, the impacts of in our community at the moment. I, for example, think we're missing things, John and I spoke about this, we're missing things like updating emergency plans when we're, which I know you might not agree with, but we're at maybe a climate, time where we should be prepared. And so to me, those things are going to float up to the top and other things would come down. So just using our little dots that we did in 5 minutes, I don't think is very strategic, very thoughtful, very based in performance and how we should consider ourselves strategic thinkers.
Mr. Shaw.
My memory could be wrong, but I don't think I actually voted to hire Ref Telus to begin with to do this project, did I?
And we didn't have input on it.
Well, and the reason being is that what you're trying to get at is a much different document and a much different animal.
This is the start.
This is a start to it. I guess what I would say is that here in Illinois, our priorities are decided for us down in Springfield. That's been done. Our priorities are there. They set enough state mandates that our budget and state funding is decided. You can bicker about the leftover, $500,000 here and there to do this or that. That's great, but your priorities are set.
I will agree 100%, and that's an impact that we have to think about when we do our strategic plan.
So I guess what I would say is this. I feel like the operations and the plan and the strategy isn't for what we do on a day-to-day basis, maybe it's not as clear to everybody and how it's communicated and laid out. But what I would say is our form of government allows us to be efficient. We're able to react and be nimble. And I think the essence of what's in here is a foundational enough for us to can move forward on, I guess, and that's where I'm looking at it. Could you spend, a ton of extra time and do what some other communities do? You could do all that, a really deep analysis for it. I'm just not sure if that's what everyone on the council wants to do. I mean, that's a big ask for everybody to spend that much time and to get that deep into it. It is, but that's a different skill level too. And so when I look, and then we went through that in this offsite about, what skill levels, what skill sets, and do we have as individual council members, and I know that the strategic piece and that strategic planning, that's not one of my strengths, and so I think we're in a good shape. I guess I'm much more in favor of, I think is it what everyone wants? No, but that's kind of how life works in many situations. It's not what everyone wants, but I think it's a start. And I think you can continue to build on that in years to come. I think the idea of maybe, doing multiple iterations of this, every couple of years to refine it and maybe get more refined like that, I think there's an opportunity for that. To do that now, though, would be kind of to almost start back at square one with a different framework of it.
I don't think
And
so.
so, okay, just me.
Rating and ranking.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the 2023 strategic plan as is, that will allow us to move forward and have future discussion.
Can I
Mr.
ask a
Stafford.
clarification? Did I make a motion that was seconded initially? Isn't there, no, there wasn't?
No, we
Okay,
just
I thought
started
I had.
discussion,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I just started the discussion, okay.
Right.
I thought I had made.
Okay, we have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Stickson?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat them?
It was what the mayor said. It was to approve it as is, to move to the next phase.
Okay. No.
Councilmembers Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
No.
Rauschenberger?
No.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion is approved 7-2. Consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Stickson?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Miscellaneous business.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Stickson?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger? Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. The next committee of the whole meeting will be Wednesday, March 22nd. March 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The next regular meeting of the Elgin City Council will be Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn back to the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Stickson?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Entertain a motion to reconvene the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Stickson?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes. We're back in business. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item D is a resolution authorizing the application for the Urban and Community Forestry Support in the Chicago Region Grant Program, the 2023 Chicago Region Earmark. City last completed an urban tree inventory and urban forest master plan in 2010. Since that time, Elgin's urban forest has changed in many ways, necessitating a new inventory. This new inventory began in 2021 and is set to be completed in the spring of 2024. The 2023 Chicago Region earmark for the Urban and Community Forestry Support and the Chicago Region Grant Program was created with funding thanks to Congressperson Sean Casten's community project funding support in 2021. At this time, staff is seeking approval of a resolution to allow the city's application to be submitted. The grant award is $25,000 with a 25% match required by the city.
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item E is the adoption of the 2023 official zoning map. Illinois law requires municipalities to publish a zoning map each year not later than March 31st. City zoning maps, however, are maintained and produced by the Community Development Department and are routinely updated following each approved zoning change. Formally adopting the 2023 zoning map maintains the city's technical compliance with the Illinois statute.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item F is the acceptance of public improvements and easement within the site located at 2601 Mason Road. This property was required to construct a public water main to provide water and fire services to the building. It is also subject to an agreement requiring storm sewer installation within Elf Lane to prevent the upstream storm water from being discharged into the existing detention basin on the property, and also to construct sidewalk and streets along the west side of Elf Lane. The proposed easement over the water main allows the city to enter the property to make improvements and maintenance, and the acceptance of the public improvements includes water mains, valves, valve vaults, fire hydrants, storm sewer, sidewalk, and trees.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item G is amendment number 2 to the engineering services agreement with Baxter and Woodman Incorporated for the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Permit Phase 2 Stormwater Permit Compliance. The NPDES permit, as affectionately referred to, is mandated by federal and state law and governs the city's operations of its separate storm sewer system. Permit compliance includes items such as public outreach and involvement, illicit discharge detection, and the elimination of construction site runoff, post-construction stormwater management, and pollution prevention. This agreement continues the ongoing engineering services agreement that supplements city staff's abilities to meet the regulations during 2023 and will allow for assistance in renewing the mandated EPA program permit.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item H is the 2023 Fleet Procurement Authorization Resolution. The Public Works Department is seeking authorization to purchase fleet vehicles outside the city's customary procurement process because of the continuing supply constraints within the motor vehicle industry. Before the 2020 pandemic, the established procurement process enabled the city to order and receive even the most customized vehicle configurations within the same fiscal year that typically took about 6 to 8 months. That same process is now requiring up to 2 years from order to delivery because of nationwide supply chain issues. The city currently has just under $2 million in vehicle purchases on order dating back to 2021, in which it has not yet received its deliveries. This ordering and delivery backlog is impacting all classes of fleet vehicles ranging from cars, SUVs, and pickups through the large specialized vehicles used within the public works, utilities, and land management departments. Adopting a resolution authorizing the Public Works Department staff to forego the public bidding and joint procurement process required under the ordinance for budgeted 2023 fleet vehicles will enhance the city's ability to obtain the needed replacement vehicles. This process will afford the city with the ability to seek out needed replacements and newly programmed vehicles first locally and then using a national search for the inventory vehicles. Once an inventory vehicle is identified, the Public Works Department would then be authorized to purchase the vehicle outside the normal bid process. To maintain transparency in this procurement process, the Public Works Department will be generating a year-end report documenting the vehicles that have been purchased, their respective price, and the businesses from which they were procured. Once again, the proposal, and it's listed in the memo, includes budgeted vehicles, and the intention is to use this authorization to stay within the parameters for what was approved by the council in the 2023 budget.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item I, agreements with Rave Wireless Incorporated, doing business as Rave Mobile Safety for Rave Alert and Smart 911 for public safety. The city uses emergency alerting systems that send phone messages with urgent or critical information to Elgin's residents and businesses. These alerts are transmitted either citywide or to specific geographical areas within the city. The system is used for a myriad of alerts, including missing children or adults with disabilities, nearby dangerous or hazardous situations, activation of snow routes, or temporary parking or other route restrictions. The agreement now in place was first entered into beginning with 2020 and will be expiring this March. The city is seeking to enter into a 5-year renewal agreement with Rave Alert and Smart 911. Both of these products have been an integral part of the city's ability to provide critical information to its residents and businesses in a timely and efficient manner.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0.
Item J is the purchase of GTAC mobile computers and docks from Ultrastrobe Communications. The fire department depends on technology solutions for quick and accurate responses to its emergency situations and has been actively working to upgrade the hardware and applications to improve performance, accuracy of responses, and effectiveness of crew reporting. Recent upgrades include the patient care reporting software, implementing an emergency pre-incident planning program, adding automatic vehicle location to the dispatch process, and upgrading the fire inspection reporting system. In conjunction with these software upgrades, the fire department has started to replace the obsolete hardware that has exceeded its useful service life. These components greatly impact the performance of the new software, as well as the computer-aided dispatch system and the fire department's use of automatic vehicle locating. Key component to these systems is the mobile computers, which run the CAD application, emergency pre-incident planning software, and mutual aid response information. This requested purchase will authorize the department to buy 25 mobile computers and 29 docking stations, giving the department the necessary hardware to replace the obsolete tablets and improve the overall performance of its emergency response system.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. Announcement from the council. Ms. Powell.
Yes, one announcement I do have kind of relates to an item that we spoke about earlier this evening with the task force recommendation updates. Just want to make the announcement that the police department has added on their transparency hub an area with all of the task force recommendations and updates on where those recommendations stand. They are located on the transparency hub of the police department's website, and there's a new icon that named Police Task Force Recommendations and Implementation. So if people want to know where things stand with all the different recommendations that have been made, because obviously there have been a lot, and where they are in the process of implementation, just want to direct people to that resource and thank the police department for adding that to your transparency hub.
Anything else from the council? And something from staff, Mr. Manager.
I have one, Mayor, thank you. The city's Parks and Recreation Department is currently in the process of updating its master plan to guide the next decade of parks and recreation initiatives. As part of that process, the city is evaluating the viability and alternatives for the Lords Park Family Aquatic Center. The public is being invited to attend a meeting on Wednesday, March 15th at 6 p.m. at the Lords Park Elementary School Library to learn about the history of the Lords Park Family Aquatic Center and the issues impacting its operations. Residents who attend will be asked to complete a survey with their feedback on the facility. Anyone attending and completing the survey will also receive a free pass to the Adventure Island Pool at the Edward Schock Center of Elgin. For more information, you can go to cityofelgin.org/parksandrec. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moving a second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Rauschenberger?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Stefan? Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.